Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Say, if it seems like it's difficult for you to keep up with Spitfire's audio's offerings, you're not alone. I've got Aperture, the Cassette Symphony. It's a fascinating concept where symphonic or orchestral instruments or sections were sent out to individual cassette players, 100 or so of them, spread out across the room. You have direct control over the number of cassettes that are playing back for each individual section. It's a pretty powerful tool. Can I make music with it? Well, I love Aperture stacks. Let's take a look at Cassette Symphony. This is what the interface looks like. For those of you familiar with Spitfire's offerings, it won't be too surprising. It's more full-featured than the Labs front ends. Now, each of these sounds being played back by a cassette tape is going to be a little dirty, right? Cassette has a wobbly quality, and in fact, if you look at our patches, you can see that high and low strings are offered as well as high and low strings worn. Whoa. Now, the worn sound is very worn, and you don't have direct control over it, but it could be just the thing for your music if you're a lo-fi fanatic. Well, here's the high woodwinds, and I won't keep you in suspense. Beautiful sound, really. I'm going to fade it in. And you're hearing a patch called Scattered. You can see it down here. Scattered is a looping patch whose sound field travels left and right. If I add a second tone and then a third, you'll hear each tone has its own travel vector. And for me, that's thrilling as an ambient composer. It might be a little bit hard to manage for those of us trying to write actual orchestral music with this, but that's not what Aperture's about. We've got a number of patches, including normal sustains and a kind of a legato mono sustain. Several of these are looped. Here, the tape loop is a classic tape loop sound. You can even hear the little glitch in it. Reels is another kind of loop which doesn't travel around the sound field as much. We've got a hairpin, which is a classic crescendo diminuendo, as well as marcato, a strong attack, and then a sustain, and staccato, just the short sound. All those things that are fairly conventional in any orchestral writing. Here, the big knob gives us control over a low-pass filter, some tightness, which is how you cut into the sample itself, actually. I think to be more accurate, it cuts further and further into the sample as it's tighter. And very nicely, in this case, a release time, reverb, and noise. And let me warn you, for those of you who are going to do 5 or 6 tracks of this instrument, turn the noise down on everything except one of them, because man, does that noise add up. I have the noise turned off on all of this. You've got options for changing things on key switch, and we can also just go right into the effects pane and control each of these individually. You can learn a continuous controller command and automate it or send it to a slider. Well, can I write music with this? My first take was, I guess I would just describe it as, I was imagining it as a sort of a symphonic piece. What would it be like? Well, let's listen to it. We'll talk it through a little bit. The second piece that I did is more successful. We'll say why in a moment. All right, this is about a minute and a half long. Winds and strings, simple motif supported. Harmonize that motif. This piece is probably better suited to, say, the BBC Symphony Orchestra, a clean symphonic sound. But the spread of sound is beautiful. I performed each line separately with two faders, expression and the modulation, which is controlling the aperture. What I discovered from doing this piece was what's great about this library, which is that the various effects that loop and scatter that act as sort of modulating sound fields that sort of fade themselves in and out are really what's best about it. And so I went back to the drawing board and being an ambient composer, basically, I said, I want to take advantage of just that. So here we have a second piece that is perhaps less orchestral in its conception, and it's more responding to the immediate sound of the instruments, uses a lot of aperture control, and is much more static, allowing those long tones to evolve and create their own identities and kind of contribute to the artistic vision. Harmonically a little denser, much richer, sort of modally saturated. You can see the continuous controller data over here. These sliders are in constant motion. Just a big 5-note pentatonic stack at the end there. So what do I think? Well, the Cassette Symphony offers a number of sort of things that are appealing. I think the thing that I like the most about it are the reels and the scattered sounds in both. The ability to control the aperture size with continuous controller information as I perform, it means that it's just ideal for these long holds on saturated modal textures like these. And the sounds themselves are beautifully recorded. The space is gorgeous. I'm adding a little bit of reverb to the sort of whole thing to kind of just gel it. And there's a certain amount of compression on there, but very little treatment to speak of. And these are both pieces I recorded and sort of produced and you're hearing, today. So I've just kind of hopped in and made it happen. Another fascinating offering from Spitfire Audio. And I think right now it's included with a purchase over some amount. I don't know. You should look at the website, but I really love Aperture stacks. I use it all the time. The Labs instrument that they've recently done with the CS80 cassette synth, something like that, is basically a free version of the Aperture engine and is well worth picking up. I highly recommend it, and I did a little review of that one just recently. So before I go, I'll say that Martin Heidenreich, my YouTube colleague over in Italy, and I are again doing a holiday challenge. We're inviting our subscribers to contribute a music video, basically. Holiday tune, something original, a classic chestnut. Drop us a line with the video, the music, the video, the link. We're going to make a playlist. It should be a ball. Who knows how many submissions we'll get. Last year it was upwards of 30 or 40, I think, and from all over the place, too. Well, there's details about it in another video you can find on this channel or on Martin's. Hey, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe. Ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my video. If this was great, hit that like button. It's terrific for the channel. And I'll see you next time.